Yeah, this day is 4 years in the making. An idea and a lot of people and a lot of energy and a lot of relentless, persistent effort and imagination and work. The beginning of a new chapter for this little corridor with a building that kind of symbolizes and anchors that corridor.
And Vista was very fortunate that we had a handful of developers. Amongst some of those developers that found us was Lev Gershman, and he was young and enthusiastic. Things that Lev brought to the table in addition to wanting to do downtown revitalization was to really support the art movement.
I think for any project, when you're imagining something so far into the future, is to stay with the vision and the belief that what you're doing will prevail and you're doing it for the right reasons, and then finding people along the way that align with that idea.
I think the first thing we looked at was, what is the experience of this building? You have so many people and developers that just go build stuff, and it's also cookie cutter, right? And I think what makes this project special is everybody cares. Everybody wants to see something different happen.
So today is a big day. We had slab on grade, pour. We had guys out here for 2 weeks, laid out all the rebar. We had a big pour. We had concrete coming in, poured, was leveled, flat, it was getting finished.
The biggest difference working with them is, A, they're really good friends, and it's awesome just to get to work with friends. The number one takeaway is that they're willing to take a risk with this project and build something different. To take risks in that design, in that build, that's huge. Most people don't do that. We can stretch those boundaries of experience, of design, of build, and truly see what's capable. Like, what is this and what's going to separate it apart from all these other projects?
How does this place make you feel? What is your experience of going through this lobby?
Lev is the fearless leader, the person with the crazy idea that you want to follow, but you don't think it's gonna work out. And then you look behind you and you're like, oh, there's a project there, so it must work.
The most challenging thing is overcoming uncertainty in an unproven market, but believing in the neighborhood, believing in the market. There were many moments along the way of these 5 years where economic headwinds, pandemic, political climate, you name it, where things felt really uncertain. COVID really compromised our ability to get labor and materials and keep the project on track.
A constant concern throughout this project is, how do we get to the next step, and how do we get to the next step?
My main role is to keep our budget on track, to keep our subcontractors in line. Tideline's probably been one of the best ownerships that I've worked with. It's a project that kind of makes you want to be there when it gets finished.
Right now, I'm walking through the project. You got a bunch of wood walls up, and you can kind of see the rooms. But once you put that final sheet of drywall on, and you get to see the finished floors, I think it's going to have a real change to the way it feels. It's going to start to feel like a home, a place that you can live, versus just here's a construction project.
The building as a whole just feels really, really cohesive. From walking from any point of entrance in the building, whether it be through the lobby, looking up at the beautiful fixtures above you and the texture on the wall, and then going into the hallways and the elevator, everything feels like it's part of the same holistic project, which to me, that's a key moment of success from a design standpoint.
It is a really cool space. I wish I would have had a place like that to live in.
I'm spending a lot of time just trying to make sure the project gets across the finish line. Electric vehicle chargers, the package lockers, our fiber internet, and kind of smart home functionality.
I got involved with Found Lofts and Tideline right when they were first planning the project. Lev reached out to me. So what we do, it's more site driven. So planning the property to receive, the building and improvements that he wanted to put on there, and make sure all the, Utilities, access, grades, drainage, stormwater management is accounted for.
As it relates to an architect-developer relationship, I think it was a really nice relationship in that he empowered us to bring our expertise to the table. Slight give and take between owners and architects, and that kind of push-pull is actually really kind of useful to the design in the end.
Found Loft had to be catalytic. It was the first project in the Envision Arts and Culture District, and we really wanted to help bring the vision of this community plan to life. Our hope was to find an established international artist that had a contemporary storytelling style. And he lives in Amsterdam, so then this idea of having an international artist come with his family and live at the project and sort of kick off this idea of an artist in residence.
One concept that was kind of, coming back was this exploratory theme. We pretty quickly ended up with this composition that, depicted a traveling figure, which ties in with the philosophy of the project.
Embody the spirit of the explorer, right, Found Lofts, through a character that has roots in the community.
I made a design around that. That design was presented to the city council, and I think they liked most of it, but they had some concerns.
The motion is to approve the item with understanding that they will get approval from the native tribes.
So we set up a meeting and we went over there.
The ocean people of the West, Poyokowichem. We were all peaceful and loving, and we still are. We are still practicing our cultural traditions and keep them alive. We have our own story. We suffered, died. We were forced to lose our identity under the Spanish reign. We were enslaved to build missions to house the very people that were taking away our freedom. Despite all this, we have diligently worked on keeping our practices alive. It's a daily struggle. We have come a long way and have the support of our community. We love and enjoy sharing our Liceno practice with them as often as we can. We would love to have a mural that represents the people of the West.
And we had like a 3-hour meeting in which we could incorporate their history, their culture, and make it relevant for them as well. We're still staying true to the original concept that we departed from, but also considered and acknowledged everything new that we had learned, it was a challenge. I think we found it in the end, for sure.
And then it comes down to this design that I feel, out of all the things I've come up with so far, this is the closest to me and to what I do, and that feels really good for me as well.
The mural, I read a few times. I haven't measured it myself, but I think it's 60 feet tall mural. It's all part of that journey that now finally leads up to this point where it's done and being unveiled, and it feels super, super rewarding.
The project name Found Lofts is really special because to me it represents something of the underlying aspect of exploring and adventuring. When you walk into it or when you see it, like, to me that's what Found is, right? Like, this idea that I've been seeking this thing for so long. I didn't know what I was seeking, but in all my travels and all my experiences, I came across this, and this idea of something that was once lost is now found.
So I think the personally rewarding thing is just that experience of taking an idea that was just a tiny little seed and nurturing it with a lot of people's energy and care, and then bringing it into what blossomed to be this amazing project that brought community together, that brought in the tribal council, the connections that we built along the way. All of those things were immeasurable. Start of the adventure, start of the journey. There was no way to ever fathom any of that, but in hindsight, having lived through all of that, survived all of that, learned from all of that, it's the most deeply rewarding, interesting part of the journey. Looking back at all of it and looking back at how the building turned out and how people have reacted to it and received it has been a moment to reflect on all of it, including the image in the mural, which is this idea of truth,